My name is Bernadette, but most folks call me Bernie, 30, female. I've always been the kind of person who cares deeply for others. You know, the one who goes out of her way to help, even when it's not asked for. I was raised to be kind and generous, and I never held a grudge against anyone. But then there's Ruth. She's my sister-in-law, and boy, let me tell you, she's a piece of work. Ruth is the only daughter in her family, and I quickly realized how spoiled she was. She had this air of entitlement, always acting like she was the queen bee. What bothered me even more was how she treated her own kids, Hannah and Lila. They'd come over for sleepovers, and every time they'd complain about their mom. They told me she was strict, hardly ever home to play with them, and they saw on her social media that she wasn't on work trips as she told them, but out partying and drinking, acting like a reckless teenager. It infuriated me. I could handle Ruth being a bad person, but a bad mother too? That was a line I couldn't let her cross, for the sake of her kids at least. So I started feeling resentful towards Ruth, and I didn't hesitate to share my frustrations with my husband Greg. However, he was serving in the military and was often away from home, so there wasn't much he could do about his sister's behavior or how she treated me or her own children. Despite my growing disgust for Ruth, I always welcomed my nieces Hannah and Lila with open arms. They were such bright and wonderful young girls. They enjoyed spending time with their cool Aunt Bernie, as they'd often call me. Whenever Ruth would come back to pick up the kids after her mysterious outings, I tried to talk to her in private. I tell her that what she was doing wasn't right and that she needed to step up as a parent. But Ruth's reaction was far from what I'd hoped for. She'd fly into a rage, yelling and cursing at me right in front of her own children, causing a scene, making a mess in my home. She claimed that I didn't know anything and that I had to stay out of her business. Maybe you think I'm wrong for telling a parent how to parent, but how couldn't I? I saw how those girls were feeling and how sad they'd be when they had to return home. Something had to give, right? This went on for a while, and I brushed it off until one day I received a text from Ruth. She threatened to make my life a living hell if I kept on talking about her life choices. I was frustrated and feeling cornered, so I decided to reach out to my mother-in-law. And to my surprise, I found that she had blocked me. It wasn't just her either. I soon discovered that other in-laws had blocked me too. I couldn't understand why they would do this, but I had a strong hunch that Ruth was behind it all. She treated me poorly ever since I joined the family, and this was just another example of her vindictiveness. Frustrated by the situation, I decided to take matters into my own hands. I contacted Ruth and arranged to meet her for a serious chat, as it appeared no one else was willing to put her in her place. We met up at a local coffee shop, and I began by calmly explaining that I didn't appreciate the way she'd been speaking to me. I wanted a productive conversation, but of course, Ruth's reaction was far from constructive. She started yelling at me, as she normally does, but this time I wasn't having any of her BS. I told her that I wanted to have a productive conversation, making it clear that if she wasn't willing to talk to me like an adult, I'd leave and never bother her again, and I would expect the same from her also. This made her stop in her tracks for a while. Typical. I could see the cogs moving behind her eyes, and she was seriously debating whether or not to talk to me rudely. It was clear that Ruth had stopped yelling for a moment because she knew she had the advantage of free babysitting services from me whenever she wanted to go out on her escapades. However, just as I suspected, Ruth's bitterness and anger got the better of her, and she felt attacked by the truth, which only fueled her anger. Ruth, I just want to talk about the way you treat me. It's not right, and you know it. Who do you think you are? You have no business telling me how to act. I'm a grown woman. Then act like it. Why do I have to be here telling a grown woman how to treat people? Everyone says that you're awful. No one says that. It's only you. It's everyone, sweetie. They just don't want to tell you because of how you're reacting right now. You don't tell me what to do. I'm just trying to have a productive conversation here. If you're not willing to do that, then maybe we should end this discussion. You think that you can come in here and judge me, huh? You judge my parenting like your Mother Mary. You know what? I'm going to make your life a living hell, Bernie. I'm going to make sure that no one speaks to you in this city ever again. How would you like to be branded as a wife who's cheating on her man, who's serving the country? It's not like it hasn't been done before. Everyone will believe me and no one will believe you. Why are you so full of hate and anger? It's not enough that you've convinced all of our in-laws to block me, and now you're threatening to spread rumors about me? You're honestly sad and pathetic. We went back and forth for a short while, and I was just completely drained from this sad, bitter woman. I'm done, Ruth. I can't deal with your behavior anymore. As I was walking out of the cafe, Ruth was shouting insults and lies about me, making me seem like I was the bad guy in the situation. Feeling drained by the confrontation with Ruth, I decided to take a step back and focus on my own life, wanting to avoid the negativity that my sister-in-law brought into my world. Meanwhile, Hannah and Lila began reaching out to me more frequently after that altercation at the cafe. They would sometimes be left alone for days on end, with no one to care for them, being forced to fend for themselves. I obviously grew worried about the well-being of my nieces, especially after learning that Ruth had become even more hostile towards them since Child Protective Services, CPS, had paid a visit. I was the one who decided to call CPS because I genuinely didn't know what else I could do. I couldn't just sweep up the kids myself. Ruth was so crazy she might have charged me with kidnapping. I called CPS hoping that they would protect my nieces. However, the situation remained unchanged. Ruth always seemed to get wind of CPS's potential visits, and that's when she would put on her Mother of the Year hat and act like she was the best mother in the world. Hannah and Lila would tell me on the phone that this CPS visit made Ruth more hostile towards the kids. And I was caught between my desire to help my nieces and her fear of making their lives even worse. Every so often, when Hannah would tell me that Ruth wasn't around, I would drop off food and drinks and board games at their home. If I was feeling extra risky that day, I'd sit down with them and hang out because no kid should be left alone. I just couldn't help but wish that Ruth would put her pride aside and ask for help in taking care of the kids. She knows that I loved those babies to death and that Ruth could spit in my face, but I would still take care of Lila and Hannah. But Ruth's stubbornness seemed permanent. I couldn't believe my eyes when I opened the door and saw Ruth standing there. She looked disheveled and helpless, like she'd spent the last few nights on the streets. "Ruth, what are you doing here?" She hesitated for a moment and then revealed something that left my jaw on the floor. "Bernie, I don't know where else to turn. I've hit rock bottom and I need money fast. It's for the kids." I could feel the weight of her request, but her previous actions had made me cautious. "Why not ask your own family for help, Didn't you say you hated me and you wanted nothing to do with me?" "I did ask my family, and they helped me out already. I can't go back to them now. This money is urgent, Bernie. Cut the holier-than-thou crap and help me, please." I just wasn't buying it. With the way she was looking, she looked like she would blow the money on booze and drugs, so I said this. "Tell me what the kids need and I'll buy it for them." "Huh? What? Why?" "Just give me the money. I'm their mother. And I'm their aunt, and I care about them, so I want to buy them things." "Why do you always act this way? Why can't it ever be simple with you? You always want to argue with me." Her frustration grew and she lashed out. "You're supposed to be family, Bernie. You won't even help your struggling in-law and your own nieces." That's funny, because not long ago you were the same one trying to distance me from the family, no? "That's all in the past, Bernie. I can't stand you sometimes. Why did I even come here?" "Because you're struggling and you need help, but not in the way you think. I think you're going through something, and I'm here to help you if you just let—" "I don't want your help. I don't need your help. Coming here was clearly a mistake. Thanks for reminding me how useless you are." She turned away to storm off, but I was feeling angry, so I said, One day, you're going to get caught for all the crap you're doing. Those babies deserve a present mother, and you know it." She stopped in her tracks and said, "So it was you who called CPS. I have half a mind to teach you a lesson about snitching." For a moment it seemed like she wanted to start a fight, and I was getting ready for it, but then she stopped. I think she must have remembered her desperate need for my help, and she knew that putting her hands on me would end our relationship for good. Without another word, she stormed off, leaving me feeling so sad for her. A couple of weeks went by, and I continued to receive texts from Hannah and Lila. They described how Ruth was indeed spending more time at home, but it was far from what they had hoped for. Instead of a caring mother, she was drinking heavily and complaining about life incessantly. Hannah and Lila's messages filled me with deep sympathy for them. I wished I could whisk them away from that environment to offer them the stable, nurturing home they needed. It became increasingly evident that their mother was only home more often to give the appearance of being a responsible parent. The truth, however, was far from it. Then one night I received a call from Hannah and Lila, and their voices trembling on the other end of the line. I could hear the shakiness in Hannah and Lila's voices as they spoke to me, and it tugged at my heartstrings. "Aunt Bernie, things aren't okay here. We really miss you. Why don't you come to visit us?" "Yeah, Aunt Bernie, I miss your cookies and your stories." I felt a lump in my throat, but replied with as much reassurance as I could muster. "I miss you both so much, and I promise you we'll find a way to spend time together. Your happiness means everything to me. Things with your mom are a bit sticky right now, but you don't need me to tell you that. God, I wish I could just whisk you two away." "To Bora Bora, like you promised?" "Yes, to Bora Bora, and to anywhere you two want to go. Where would you like to go, girls?" We spent the rest of the evening chatting about lighter subjects, trying to forget the harsh reality of their situation, if only for a little while. One day, when I was minding my own business, I heard the loud roar of a car in my driveway. Anyone who knows me knows I'm a homebody, and people don't just pull up to my place unexpectedly. So obviously I rushed outside to see who it was. My heart skipped a beat when I saw Hannah and Lila standing in my driveway with their little backpacks and smiling faces. The surprise had left me momentarily speechless, but I quickly rushed to hug them. I had missed them so much. I saw Ruth in her car pulling out of the driveway. Was she just going to leave them here without saying anything? "What's going on, Ruth?" Ruth looked frazzled and half yelled. "I have to go away for a month, and you'll have to take care of them, so yeah." Without hesitation, I ushered the kids inside, telling them to help themselves to whatever they wanted in the kitchen. After that, I walked up to Ruth, unable to contain my anger any longer, and I began to shout at her, my voice echoing through the driveway. "Ruth, what the heck is the meaning of all this? What's your problem? Why are you yelling at me? You can't just drop the kids and disappear for an entire month. What the hell's going on? I thought you loved little brats. Bernie, why are you complaining? Don't you miss them?" "Of course I love Hannah and Lila, and they're not brats. But you can't just dump them here like you don't care about them, and you can't just dump them here without consulting me. What if I wasn't home? What if I had a work trip?" "Okay, but you don't, and you're here. That's all that matters. You're so spoiled, it's disgusting." "Don't raise your voice at me. You know what? This is all your fault." "What? If you'd helped me with the money like I asked, I wouldn't have to do this. I wouldn't have to slave away for an entire month just to make ends meet. You were the one who said I had to be a better mother, and that's exactly what I'm doing." "Okay, where are you going?" "Why is that your business?" "What if the kids need you? What if they get sick? How am I going to contact you and get hold of you if I don't know where you're going?" "There's this thing called a text message, Bernie. Look it up." God, you're insufferable. So you're going on some secret mission then? I don't get it. Why can't you just tell me where you're going? Because it's none of your business. You know what I think? I think that you're going to your little drug parties. What? Why would you think that? Because you're a mess, Ruth. You don't know anything about me. Maybe, and honestly, I'm glad. Maybe it would be better for everyone if you just went away and never came back. You certainly wouldn't be missed. Ruth was hurt by my words. I saw her face twist and it looked like she wanted to cry, but she quickly recovered and started yelling at me all over again. "Oh, you would love that, wouldn't you? Well, unfortunately for you, I'll be back to take my kids. They love me and they need me." I couldn't be bothered to listen to the rest of her spiel, so I headed back inside the house while she continued to shout at me in the driveway. I got inside the house and locked the door behind me, took a deep breath, and said to Hannah and Lila, "Okay, ladies, who wants to bake some cookies with me?" As the days flew by, I cherished the precious moments with Hannah and Lila. My heart swelled with love and appreciation for these beautiful, smart nieces of mine. I couldn't wrap my head around how they turned out to be such loving, kind children despite being raised by the devil herself. But I wasn't one to question miracles. Every day, Hannah and Lila would open up about the things their mother had done to them. The verbal and physical abuse, even denying them food, it made my blood boil, and I knew I had to devise a plan to ensure the girls would be well taken care of. Hannah, always the little detective, created a burner account to follow her mom. At some point, Ruth had blocked the girls and me from viewing her social media. I guess she figured out that she was being sloppy with her rendezvous. But now, with the burner account, we could see the picture and posts of Ruth living it up during this month when she was supposedly working to support her kids. My suspicions were confirmed, and I knew Ruth wasn't off being productive. Instead, she was drowning her sorrows and neglecting her responsibilities. Lila's eyes welled up. "What's wrong, sweetie?" I know that this won't last forever. I know that she'll come back, and I don't want that." "Me too, sis. I wish we could stay here forever." "Why can't we stay here?" "Well, sweetie, it's a bit complicated. She's your mother. Even if she isn't a good one, she's still your mother, and the laws that make it very difficult for kids to live with whoever they want, even if they're completely in the right." I hugged them both tight and promised that everything was going to work out for us. I told them I would figure something out and make sure that they were protected, even if I couldn't physically be there for them. As the month was ending, Hannah and Lila grew increasingly nervous. The thought of going back home with their horrible mother didn't bring them any comfort. I tried my best to stay strong and calm for their sake, but I couldn't deny it. I was also feeling pretty sickly and nervous too. That Ruth lady was something special. True to form, Ruth arrived a day later than expected, and when she stepped out of the car, she looked like a complete mess. Her hair was disheveled, her eyes bloodshot. She clutched a cigarette between her shaky fingers. Hannah and Lila were still clinging to me. "Come on, girls, I don't have all day. Get in the car." Ruth waited for her children to run to her. She probably envisioned it, but they didn't. Frustrated, Ruth began yelling at her kids, ordering them to move and come to her so they could go home. She even tried to bribe them with the promise of pizza, but it didn't work. "Aunt Bernie, I don't want to go with her. Please don't make us go with her." And that moment right there completely broke my heart. I mean, how could I say no to that? I just couldn't. I mustered up the courage and said, "Ruth, I don't think the girls want to leave." She looked shocked, probably not expecting such a standoff, and slowly she moved closer, and that's when Hannah, with newfound bravery, spoke directly to her mother. "We don't want to go home. You're mean to us." Ruth was yelling louder at this point, drawing attention to this otherwise chilled and quiet neighborhood, and I was feeling nervous and embarrassed because I didn't want things to escalate. "What the hell are you talking about, little brat? I'm your mother." "No, you're not our mother." "Excuse me? You heard me. I don't even want to call you Mom anymore." "Yeah, me neither. You're not my mom. Aunt Bernie is." "Aunt Bernie is more of a mom to us than you ever were." "Oh, I see what's going on. You've brainwashed them, huh? This was your plan all along, wasn't it? To get them to be on your side and to leave me in the dust." "Ruth, I can assure you, I never told them to say any of this. I'm hearing it for the first time, too. We're not lying. We want to stay with you. You're our real mom." "Why do you even care, Ruth? Wouldn't it be better this way? You never wanted us, and you don't even love us. So why can't you just let us live with Aunt Bernie?" Ruth seemed stumped at this point. She started blubbering and muttering some excuses, but it was all nonsense. It seemed like she had finally shut up. Being denied as a mother and having your kids call someone else their mom must have cut her pretty deep, because I've never seen Ruth that embarrassed before. I don't know what to say. Let's be honest here, Ruth. The kids have a point, and I think they're old enough to know what they want and what they don't want. And clearly they don't want you. But why? Why doesn't anyone want me? Oh, come on, Ruth. Don't act like you didn't do this to yourself. You've been such a horrible human being. So don't be surprised when people don't want to be around you anymore. I just didn't think that my own kids would deny me. Your daughters are the smartest, most beautiful people I know. You couldn't have treated them so poorly and expected them to love you unconditionally. That just doesn't make any sense, Ruth. You're smarter than that. Ruth didn't even have any more words. She looked at her daughters pleadingly, but she couldn't even bring herself to say sorry or ask, how can I make things better? Hannah and Lila were ruthless, turning their backs on their mother and getting back inside my house, as if to say, we're done with you. I stood there with Ruth, and she slowly retreated back to her car without saying a word. I didn't know what to say to her. I guess her spirit was completely crushed.